Gandalf is often remembered as a guide, a counselor, a wandering old wizard who arrives just in time, speaks in riddles, and disappears when his task is done. But that image is misleading, because Gandalf was never sent to Middle-earth to fight evil in the way Sauron did. He was sent to restrain himself, to walk among the free peoples while hiding the true scale of what he was capable of becoming. And that restraint, more than his staff, his spells, or even his wisdom, was the most dangerous burden he carried throughout the Third Age. Today, we're uncovering the power Gandalf was never allowed to use, why it was forbidden by the Valar themselves, and what would have happened if he had ever crossed that invisible line. Welcome back to the channel. Let's get started.
It's undoubtedly a trap.
To understand what Gandalf was forbidden to do, we first need to understand what he truly was, and what Middle-earth was never meant to see. Gandalf was not a man, not an elf, not even a wizard in the simple sense the people of Middle-earth understood. He was Olorin, a Maia, an immortal spirit who existed before the shaping of Arda, before the rising of the sun and moon, before the First Age cast its long shadow over the world. He learned wisdom in the halls of the Valar themselves, and walked in the gardens of Lorien long before Galadriel ever set foot in Middle-earth. And he was not alone. The same order of being as Sauron, Saruman, and the Balrogs. This alone reframes everything Gandalf ever did, because Gandalf was not weaker than Sauron by nature. He was restricted by design. When the Valar sent the Astari to Middle-earth around the year 1000 of the Third Age, they made a deliberate choice. They did not send armies. They did not send divine judgment. They did not send another war like the cataclysms of the First Age. Instead, they sent guides, cloaked in age, weariness, and limitation. Tolkien is explicit about these restrictions. The wizards were forbidden to dominate the wills of the free peoples, rule openly through fear or authority, and match Sauron power for power. They were meant to kindle resistance, not replace it, to awaken courage, not command obedience. And among them all, Gandalf was the one who understood this burden most deeply. Where Saruman grew impatient, Gandalf endured. Where Radagast withdrew, Gandalf remained engaged. And where others sought shortcuts, Gandalf accepted the long road.
Dark fire will not avail you. Flame of Udun!
The power Gandalf was never allowed to use was not a spell he kept hidden. It was something far older, far more fundamental. Gandalf was forbidden to use his full Maia authority, the power to impose his will directly upon Middle-earth and shape events through domination rather than persuasion. This is the same category of power Sauron wielded. Not fire, not storms, but spiritual gravity. The ability to bend minds, inspire obedience, and enforce order simply by existing. Sauron did not rule through armies alone. His presence pressed down on the world like a weight. His servants followed not only out of fear, but because his will filled the spaces around them. Gandalf possessed that same potential. And Tolkien makes one thing clear. If Gandalf had ever used it, even with the best intentions, he would have crossed the point of no return. This is not theory or interpretation. Tolkien himself addressed this possibility directly. When discussing what would happen if Gandalf took the One Ring, Tolkien wrote that Gandalf would become a Dark Lord, but one perhaps worse than Sauron. That single sentence is chilling, because Gandalf would not rule through cruelty. He would rule through wisdom. Sauron ruled through fear and domination. Gandalf would rule through reason, foresight, and moral certainty. He would genuinely believe that his rule was necessary, and that resistance was foolish, and that is far more dangerous. A tyrant who knows he is evil can be opposed. A tyrant who believes he is right cannot. This is the power Gandalf was never allowed to unleash, the authority to reshape Middle-earth according to his vision of good.
Take it, Gandalf. Take it.
No further.
You must take it.
You cannot offer me this ring.
I'm giving it to you.
This is why the moment in Bag End is one of the most important scenes in all of Tolkien's legendarium. When Frodo offers Gandalf the ring, Gandalf does not pause to weigh the benefits. He does not consider using it just this once.
Don't tempt me, Frodo.
He recoils in genuine fear, Because he understands the ring better than almost anyone alive, the ring does not simply corrupt, it clarifies desire. It amplifies the urge to control outcomes, to remove uncertainty, to enforce peace. And Gandalf already possessed the authority to make that control absolute. With the ring, Gandalf would not become a monster clad in shadow. He would become a radiant ruler, wise, patient, and utterly convinced of his own necessity. Middle-earth would be orderly, peaceful, and completely unfree.
It would wield a power too great and terrible to imagine.
Build me a throne worthy of Mordor.
Saruman's fall exists as a warning, both to the reader and to Gandalf himself. Saruman was also a Maia, also an Istar, also bound by the same rules. He believed the Valar were distant, outdated, and blind to the realities of Middle-earth. He used his voice to dominate minds. He sought mastery through industry, imitation, and force. He convinced himself that control was justified if it produced the right outcome. And the moment Saruman chose authority over humility, he became exactly what the Istari were sent to prevent. This is why Gandalf replaces him as the White Wizard, not because Gandalf was stronger, but because he never abandoned restraint. There is only one moment where Gandalf truly releases his hidden strength.
A Balrog.
The Bridge of Khazad-dûm. When Gandalf confronts Durin's Bane, he is no longer facing orcs, corrupted men, or servants of Sauron. He is facing another Maia, a being of his own order, unbound by mortal limitation. And in that moment, the rules change.
I am the servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Arnor.
This is not wizardry, this is identity. The Valar did not forbid the Istari from opposing beings like themselves. Gandalf was permitted, perhaps required, to meet the Balrog as an equal, and the cost was catastrophic. The release of that power destroyed his mortal form. When Gandalf returns as Gandalf the White, many assume his restrictions are lifted. They are not. He is strengthened, but still bound. Even as the White Wizard, Gandalf does not seize power. He does not crown himself, command obedience, or rule through fear or reverence. Instead, he guides kings, he supports councils, he steps aside when his role is complete, because Gandalf understands something Saruman never did. Victory achieved through domination is still defeat. If Gandalf had used the power he was forbidden to wield, Sauron would have fallen sooner, the War of the Ring would have ended decisively, and order would have been restored, but Middle-earth would have entered an age of controlled perfection, and that world would no longer be worth saving. That is why Gandalf was never allowed to use his greatest power, and why Middle-earth endured because he chose restraint over rule. If you like this kind of video, join the channel and leave a like for more content like this. It really helps me out. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you on the next one.